Okay, question there from Derek Gimsley is, do I think the office will be better as the year goes on? And I'm assuming that you mean the Dallas Cowboys front office. I'm going to say that maybe the Cowboys were at a crossroads 2 weeks ago.
So Dan Quinn's obviously the problem.
Well, no, not just that. Here's what I'm going to say is,
They played a lot
if
better.
you'll remember the day before CeeDee Lamb's contract was done, Jerry Jones went on and said, nobody is better than him at being a GM. That nobody has done more than he has, and basically taking the Cowboys, which were losing $2 million a month, and built what he has built and everything else. And the talking shows went off on him and like, yeah, okay, Jerry, you're a great GM, ha 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 ha. And then the next day, it was CeeDee Lamb was signed. It was done. And Jerry Jones seemed a little indignant. He really seemed kind of pissed off because in the end, you had seen all of these different things that were happening with the team. You saw Micah Parsons kind of throwing other players under the bus, and you heard D-Law talking about they were tired. You had the fans not showing up like they had been, and Oxnard, and not just at Oxnard, even at the open practices at the Star. And so now you're dealing with the brand and things, And we've heard Stephen Jones say a couple of things that were kind of off kilter. If you think about him saying that about the all in, he just kind of brushed it aside. Well, I don't know of a time ever that Jerry Jones hasn't been all in. Y'all remember that, right? So, basically kind of like he was almost like he was patronizing Jerry. Like, yeah, Jerry Jones, he's old. Just, yeah, we'll just say something to humor him. And, of course, the typical Stephen Jones, we got to get this thing and, this, that, and the other bullshit. I almost feel like Jerry Jones just said, enough is, wait a minute. This is what I feel like he literally said. I feel like he literally said, enough is enough. I have had it with all these mother humping snakes on this mother humping plane. And literally said, Stephen, get out the way. Get out the way, Stephen. We're going to get this deal done. We're going to get Dak Prescott done. Now, I truly believe that today's whole thing has been planned out. They didn't literally all of a sudden just get to this deal being done. I think that they saved this whole thing to have the big season opener, the big show and everything else all in here. I mean, perfect timing. 2 hours before Sunday kickoff, you get Dak Prescott signed. They already had the whole interview beforehand and stuff. So it's like, yeah, this is all planned out. But you feel like Jerry's got control of this thing and he is really now actually all in. What this means is to me that now the Cowboys, you're not looking at blowing it up. Yeah, you don't when you just paid the quarterback, the wide receiver, your offensive line. You got yourself some studs that are going to grow and continue to get better. For us to start 2 rookies on the offensive line, you looked at that and said they were going against. And remember, I just played earlier with the talking heads were talking about how good the Cleveland Browns are in the dog pound. That they were a playoff team, arguably one of the best defenses in football. You saw Zeke Elliott being able to run the football, looking motivated. You saw Tyler Guyton pushing Myles Garrett around. You saw Cooper Beebe, not giving up a sack, I don't think. You saw Zach Martin. You saw Tyler Guyton give up one and stuff, and a couple other ones. There were a few more sacks in there. But for the most part, that offensive line did some really good things. And you saw, think about this, we had 4 rookies start for the first time since 1970. But you have to look at this and say, where all the questions that we had on the roster, from the offensive line, losing Biotish and Tyron Smith, to Diggs coming back. People said, oh, he might not. We haven't said, well, I don't know. We need to maybe take our time with that. He gets an interception. And then getting Carson, the number 21, I honestly think he's played outstanding game. Outstanding game. So you look at this and say, maybe Jerry Jones is actually getting his shit together and taking control of it, where it's not just about, you know, how much money can we save on this thing? How do we pinch the pennies? And getting this deal done with Dak. I can't wait to see how the numbers work out. And I'm sure that they're going to gain cap space. It's just it has not hit the books yet where we can actually look and see what are the cap hits and the payout of each season. But if that's the case, we already knew going into next year that the Cowboys had the 12th best cap situation, as opposed to the Eagles being at the bottom. And the year after that, they were going into having, I think, the fourth or fifth best going into there. So as much as we look at the Cowboys and say, oh, well, they didn't spend big money in free agency, they didn't do that, this, that, and the other, they seem to have found some really good things. You can look at it and say, Eric Kendricks, that guy was all over the field today. Was all over the field. Overshown, that guy was all over the field today. Keelan Carson, all over the field today. That defense. And Micah Parsons, he did a podcast the last 2 weeks, he was all over the field. So, you look at this and say,
well, who's that one dude? Phillips.
With
the blow at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, Jordan Phillips, he was he was with the Giants, right?
he just wrapped
they got him from the Giants, right?
350 pounds.
The Giants could have used him today. Okay, the Giants literally could have used that. So if the question is, will the Cowboys front office be better? Well, I don't know that they necessarily will make a whole bunch of moves, but then again, you have to look at it if you're Jerry Jones. And the reason I say I think Jerry Jones took control of this is I think he wants that Super Bowl bad. The whole idea of starting all over when you're in your 80s, you don't do that. You don't do it. And you look at this and say, I got a quarterback, I got a stud wide receiver, I got an assassin at linebacker. I got to run this thing. I got to run the string on this thing, and go as far as I can with it. And maybe this year is the year we see them do some other things, because we do have those comp picks. They could trade for some players to try and make a difference in here, and I'd be all for it. So hopefully, Micah and D-Law were unblockable. They really were. Now, truth be told, the Browns had a weakness at left tackle because they were bringing a former right tackle who hasn't played left in 10 years. So that was a weak spot. But they exploited the hell out of it. And for those out there that were poo-pooing Mike Zimmer and even Drew in here, who I said that, I don't think that Mike Zimmer will struggle that much because he can run the 3-4 or the 4-3, and he's been around long enough that he can adjust to his personnel. Seems to have gotten in some players that fit his system, because like Michael's pointing out, Jordan Phillips, he crushed Deshaun Watson coming up the middle.
And then Amari Cooper missed the catch.
Amari Cooper missed the catch. But you can look at that and say, that guy is playing as good as Hankins did last year. Now, again, it's just one game. It's just one game, but it's a great way to start. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, even the running back situation. Zeke looked like he had a little hop in his step. And the fact that you've got him still, and with the offensive line opening some holes, that you actually have Dalvin Cook, that you can take your time bringing out, that you can use him, to get some of the wear and tear off of Zeke and stuff, and hopefully are, strong going into the playoffs if we make the playoffs. And so that's my thoughts on that.